Don't start planning your schedules around the Stanley Cup playoffs just yet because the Boston Bruins schedule down the stretch is an absolute nightmare.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome to a bonus episode of Locked On Boston Bruins. I'm Ian McLaren, and on this episode, we are discussing Boston's absolutely brutal schedule coming up to end this season. It is just nightmarish and begins tonight against the Buffalo Sabres and compounded by the fact that they lost last night at home to the Toronto Maple Leafs. You absolutely had to win that game because of the gauntlet that they are about to go through. Let's talk about, tonight they traveled to Buffalo to take on a Sabres team that is challenging for first in the Eastern Conference. They've come out of nowhere, started off slow this season, now 44-20-7, and could overtake the Carolina Hurricanes for top spot in the East with a win tonight. They've got plus 44 goal differential, was his second only to the Tampa Bay Lightning at plus 62. 669 point percentage, just slightly behind the Hurricanes, who are 1 point up. And this is on a back-to-back after losing a very demoralizing game last night to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Again, they had to have that one. All right, let's not stop there. Let's look towards the next game. They will come home to host the Minnesota Wild on Saturday. This is a team that is third in the Western Conference, and they have the third best goal differential in the West, third best point percentage, and the third most points, just a few shy of the Buffalo Sabres. This is one of the best teams in the Western Conference in the NHL. So that's two of the top, going into tonight's action anyways, top 6 teams in the NHL coming up next. And then on Sunday, they have to travel to Columbus to take on the current 8th best team in the NHL in terms of point percentage and total points. A Columbus Blue Jackets team that, like the Sabres, started off slow, made a coaching change, and they have been one of the best teams in the NHL since they hired Rick Bowness to take over as head coach. And if that weren't enough, on next Tuesday, to wrap up the month of March, the Bruins have to host the Dallas Stars, who are currently second in the NHL in total points, second in point percentage, and third in goal differential. Like, that to end March is an absolutely brutal little schedule there. The Sabres tonight, followed by the Wild, a top 3 team in the NHL. The Blue Jackets, who since the new year, one of the top teams in the NHL. And then the Dallas Stars, one of the top teams all season long. And they've been able to maintain that success without Mikko Rantanen, who may be back in the lineup in time for that game. He could be back as early as this weekend. My fantasy team is praying that is the case. So that's to end March. And then we turn the calendar to April, and they begin with 4 road games. They go to Florida to take on the Panthers. The Panthers are, of course, well out of it, but 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions, and you know that they will be looking to be as disruptive as possible down the stretch. Then the Bruins take on the Tampa Bay Lightning in Tampa. Tampa's got the best goal differential in the Eastern Conference. They have the third most points in the Eastern Conference, third best record in the Eastern Conference. Fantastic. That will not be an easy game. Then they go to Philadelphia. Now, this is one that should be a win. Even though the Flyers are coming on here pretty strong. They're 6-3-1 over their past 10 games. They have a .571 point percentage overall, and they are only 6 points back of the Boston Bruins for a wild card spot. This is a Flyers team that is not going lightly into the night, and you can bet they will be amped up for this one, especially if they're still right in the playoff race and if the Bruins are, dropping out. This is a game that the Flyers on home ice could very much take advantage of. And then to end that road trip, the Bruins have to go to Carolina, the number one team in the Eastern Conference, currently third overall in points, point percentage, and have one of the best goal differentials in the NHL. So if you're tracking those like 8 games, maybe they beat the Flyers. Maybe they're able to take advantage of a Panthers team that is fatigued and out of it. But Minnesota, Buffalo, Columbus, Dallas, it's going to be very hard to win any of those games. Same with Tampa, same with Carolina. And then to top it all off, they'll have one more back-to-back on the final weekend of the regular season where they will host the Tampa Bay Lightning. Once again, we've already talked about how good they are. And then travel back to Columbus to take on the Blue Jackets. So not only are they playing the Blue Jackets twice down the stretch, but they're both in Columbus and on the second half of a back-to-back situation. Just diabolical scheduling on the part of the NHL. And then from there, the Bruins will come home to finish off the regular season against a New Jersey Devils team that is out of the playoff race. This should be the most winnable game on their schedule. They're well out of it. One of the top or bottom, 10, 12 teams in the NHL. That should be a gimme on home ice to end the season. But out of the other 10 games remaining on the schedule, how many of those can you confidently look at and say the Bruins are winning that game? Tonight? No, I wouldn't say that. Against the Wild on Sunday or Saturday, Blue Jackets on Sunday, those are going to be tough. The Stars, even at home, maybe the Panthers, but 2 games against the Lightning. The Flyers, yeah. Hurricanes, probably not. Blue Jackets, probably not. So maybe that's like 2 wins that you can safely pencil in for the Boston Bruins over the next 11 games. They have to go at least 500. That would give them 96, 98 points. They probably have to get to the 100 mark to really make sure they get in there. So that's 14 points out of the next 11 games. So 7 wins or some loser points in there. Woo, boy, they really set themselves back, especially by not taking care of business last night against the Toronto Maple Leafs. A brutal schedule remaining for the Boston Bruins. 7 road games, 3 sets of back-to-backs. Each weekend is a back-to-back for the Bruins until the end of the regular season. And 8 of those games are against playoff teams. One's against the defending Stanley Cup champions. One's against a team sort of still in it in the Flyers. 3 against 2 of the best teams in the East as of late in Buffalo, Columbus. Take on the Lightning, the Hurricanes, 2 of the best teams in the West in the Wild and the Stars. Like, this is problematic to say the least. And it will be a miracle at this point if the Boston Bruins are able to squeak into the Stanley Cup playoffs. We'll take a look at the latest items of note prior to tonight's game against the Buffalo Sabres here as the podcast continues. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets change the game. It's people moving the action, so when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play-by-play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. The tournament is here, one of the best times of the year. Brackets, buzzer beaters, upsets. It's nonstop action from tip to final cut down. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a way to stay in the action all tournament long. Here's the best part. You get up to $300 back in bonus bets every day for 10 days. That means 10 chances to stay involved throughout the entire tournament. Mix it up however you want. Game picks, futures, even same game parlays for bigger potential payouts. Perfect for the tournament because every day there's something new. Different matchups, new storylines, and more ways to get involved as the bracket unfolds. Visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com to get in on the action. Spring is a natural reset point for many, and if there's one thing that can quietly cost businesses money, it's messy communications. Missed calls, scattered texts, no clear thread of who said what. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses. It lets your entire team share one business number so you never miss a call, text, or opportunity. Make this the season no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedonnhl. That's quo.com/lockedonnhl. At Quo, there's no missed calls and no missed customers. Heading into tonight's game against the Sabres, we haven't really got any idea of if there will be any lineup changes for tonight's game. Of course, the Bruins with a first line of Khusnutdinov, Minten, Pastrnak, Mittelstadt, Zacha, Arvidsson, Reichel, Lindholm, Geeky on the third line with Jeannot, Corrali, Kaslik on the fourth line. That's probably their best lineup right now, but keep an eye on Providence tonight as James Higgins will be making his AHL debut, and I believe that's a game that you can stream for free if you Google that up. Aspero, McAvoy, Lindholm, Lorai, Zadorov, Jokiharju, and I would expect it'll be Jonas Korpisalo in net for the Bruins tonight. The Bruins may be tempted to go back to Jeremy Swayman because he has been their best player all season long. This is a possible first-round preview, depending on if the Sabres finish first in the Atlantic or in the Eastern Conference and which wildcard spot the Bruins may end up in, if at all. The Sabres have the benefit of playing 7 of their last 11 games at home. It's the opposite for the Boston Bruins. And it's going to be a raucous crowd because they're starting to fill the building again. Buffalo fans are excited, and they haven't had this kind of hockey for a very, very long time. Bruins Sabres 1-1-1 so far this season in the matchup. Ukko Pekka-Luukkonen will be in net. He's 6-1 with a .935 save percentage since the Olympic break. And Money Puck credits him with 8.9 goals above expected in his last 10 games. 4-0-0 against the Bruins since last season. The Sabres are 5-2-1 in nationally televised games this season. 15-4-3 against Atlantic Division opponents. 4 of those 7 losses came back in October when they were really still figuring it out. Buffalo has the most wins since 2009-10 for the franchise. They've got a tough back end. Rasmus Dahlin, plus 19 with 17 points in his last 12 games. Owen Power, 5 points in his last 7 games. Another first overall pick. They have outscored opponents 4-0 with Stanley Logan and Zach Metza deployed at 5-on-5 as well. So this is a deep team, and it's going to be a tough go for the Boston Bruins tonight. Let's just end with that. All right. Tough go tonight. Tough schedule ahead. God bless the Boston Bruins as they try to lock down a playoff spot here down the stretch. Thank you so much for joining me on this bonus episode of Locked On Boston Bruins. Please do follow and subscribe on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube so that you never miss a thing. Follow along at Locked NHL Bruins on socials. Join the Everydayer Club for ad-free episodes and an invite to our Discord server. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. Go Bruins. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you again here on the next episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.